Cela fait 100 jours que le peuple syrien proteste contre le régime du président Bachar al-Assad. Et la contestation ne faiblit pas, la répression non plus. Selon les ONG, plus de 1300 personnes auraient été tuées depuis le 15 mars, date du début du mouvement.
Il y avait panique à Damas. Bachar al-Assad n'osait plus sortir de chez lui. Toute la ville était encerclée par sa propre banlieue, par le sud du pays, par le nord du pays. Et donc, il y a eu ordre donné à Hassan Nasrallah d'intervenir.
نحن حلفاء لسوريا. حزب الله حليف لسوريا. إيران حليفة لسوريا. لكن طبعاً عندما يأخذ الإمام الخامنئي القرار هذا يشعرنا بالاطمئنان أن عملنا عمل شرعي.
Nasrallah at first isn't so happy about it, but when the message comes from the office of the Supreme Leader, that's the end of the conversation. And they go.
هيدي البارودة كانت معنا بسوريا. كنا قوة خاصة يعني. ابني فرفور. وحكيت له وطلع على القوة الخاصة.
قوات الجيش السوري قوات حزب الله تتقدم.
تحياتي كبير. تحياتنا.
بإذن الله كلكم شهداء.
إذا بلش ب 3000 بعدين 3000 صاروا 5 والخمسة صاروا 6.
هي أمير بعد ما صارت في ولا شهيد بعد.
It's completely a new Hezbollah because it's a regular army with surface-to-air missiles and units. Well, they become a real military.
Project Cassandra identified a component known as the business affairs component. Their primary role was to establish the drug trafficking operations to generate the revenue. They had the conflict in Syria, so they had to have the money.
Ruim 8 ton cocaïne, een half miljard euro straatwaarde.
We had a really successful 2014 against the Hezbollah, culminating over a course of 3 weeks of us seizing over 8 tons of cocaine out of the port in Rotterdam.
Suddenly, Hezbollah is not resisting Israel, it's just butchering fellow Muslims. Suddenly, it's involved in a deeply sectarian conflict.
These people are like the mafia, like the guys who sit around the table with Tony Soprano.
As of 2010, France became the favored asylum of Hezbollah operatives. It provided several advantages: a large Lebanese community that reduced their visibility, and freedom of movement throughout Europe. Paris was chosen as the beachhead to launder drug money. The US Drug Enforcement Administration alerted the French police. Together, they opened a new chapter in Operation Cassandra, known as Operation Cedar, after the national symbol of Lebanon.
Operation Cedar was a spin-off investigation under the umbrella of Project Cassandra. Operation Cedar focused on the European network.
The leaders of now our operations in Europe is really Captain Mugg and his team.
Le chef de poste de la DEA à Paris me contacte en me disant voilà, il y a en Europe tout un réseau de Libanais dont on sait qu'ils sont très actifs dans la collecte de l'argent de la drogue, le blanchiment, les transferts de fonds, etc. Ils ont subi de lourdes pertes financières et ils envisageraient peut-être de se relocaliser en France. Ce qui est un peu vexant pour nous, considérant que la France serait plus sûre. Bon. Ces enquêteurs américains me communiquent en fait un simple numéro de téléphone en me disant voilà, c'est le numéro du coursier qui va venir collecter l'argent. Très bien, bon.
So really, I think within 24 hours, they identified that phone as belonging to Mohammed Nur al-Din.
Mohamed Noureddin, c'est quand même quelqu'un dont les locaux professionnels sont installés à la bourse de Beyrouth, dans les locaux de la bourse de Beyrouth. C'est pas quelqu'un qui se cache, hein. Certaines statures. Le numéro de téléphone, c'est l'élément concret qui va nous permettre de débuter l'enquête. On va le mettre sur écoute, tout simplement. On a des centaines et des centaines d'heures d'écoute et de retranscription. Il n'est question que d'argent. On s'aperçoit qu'effectivement, il est en train de planifier une opération de collecte à Paris. On est sur 1 million d'euros par semaine, quand même. Bon. Les collectes sont extrêmement rapides. Les gens s'entrevoient, hein. Ils récupèrent un sac, ils partent, ils ne comptent même pas. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a une confiance là. Hein. Tu vas aller récupérer 450 000 euros. Bon, il y a des noms de code. Hein. Alors, j'ai une Mercedes 500 à tel endroit, on va 500 000 euros. Ou alors un camion. Alors, un camion, c'est 1 million. Bon, voilà. Le collecteur se déplace et il va aller dans un parking souterrain, dans un restaurant, fréquemment dans la rue même. Hein. Lorsque nous-mêmes nous avons participé à tout ça, ça s'est passé tout simplement sur les Champs-Élysées. Une voiture s'est garée, s'est postée à la hauteur de notre agent, l'échange a eu lieu et puis voilà. Il y avait aussi tout un commerce de montres. Il y avait un des hommes de Noureddin qui se chargeait d'aller acheter des montres en espèces. Il en a quand même acheté pour plus de 30 millions d'euros en un an. Hein. Il s'agissait de montres de très grand luxe. Bon, Rolex évidemment, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet. On a vu notamment une montre Patek Philippe qui a été acquise pour 700 000 euros en liquide. Hein. Et donc toutes ces montres étaient ensuite transportées physiquement jusqu'au Liban. Et là encore, avec des sociétés d'import-export, enfin tout ça, vous prenez des apparences un peu légales.
He was a guy who was trusted to move very large amounts of money and oversee couriers who were carrying back money, sometimes just in Samsonites on, planes flying out of Charles de Gaulle back to Beirut. Air France, literally. These guys carry these Samsonites with millions of dollars, a couple $1 million in each Samsonite.
In cash?
Cash, it wasn't always like that, but sometimes it was that ridiculous. He was a super facilitator for drug money, make its way from Europe back to Lebanon, no doubt.
Ce que je vois sur mon territoire, moi, là, dans l'immédiat, c'est pas vraiment l'empreinte du Hezbollah. On n'a pas affaire à des gens très pieux. Non, on les retrouve essentiellement dans le triangle d'or parisien, plus enclin à aller boire des whisky hors d'âge au bar du Plaza Athénée qu'à fréquenter des mosquées. Voilà ce que je vois.
France appears in some ways to be their command and control center for their activities in the rest of Europe.
While the French police traced Mohammed Noureddin's network, Operation Cassandra's American agents tracked the laundered money in Lebanon. It led them to Eastern Europe in the footsteps of arms traffickers. The former socialist republics were full of armaments inherited from the Soviet Union. And among the gun dealers, the DEA targeted the key man in the traffic, a Lebanese citizen who had opened doors in Ukraine and Russia.
The agents call me up and they go, "Hey, have you ever heard of this Ali Fayed guy?" And I go, "Have I ever heard of Ali Fayed? Yeah, the guy's really significant. He's moving weapons for Iran and Hezbollah into the Middle East."
Ali Fayed was a well-known, well-documented arms dealer who was working with Russians and Ukrainian arms dealers to provide Hezbollah weapons, right? And these guys, they were going to provide, RPGs, AK rifles, surface-to-air missiles. They had access to the most sophisticated weapon systems in the world.
Once you get the charges against a guy like Fayed, you have to figure out what country can we arrest him. And that country also has to have an extradition treaty with the United States. And we identified Prague in the Czech Republic.
We infiltrated the network with our informants who portrayed themselves as members of the FARC in Colombia that needed weapons to kill Americans. And of course, Ali Fayed and his conspirators were looking to get cocaine also. So we had a cocaine for weapons deal.
So the operational plan was to do the arrests as he exited the room in the hallway of the hotel. So the room was wired up for video and audio. And then at one point, one of the sources says, we want anti-aircraft missiles to kill Americans in Colombia. And then after we kill these Americans, I'll cut off one of the Americans' heads and I will present it to you, Ali Fayed, as a present. And Ali Fayed jumped up from the couch and went over and hugged the undercover.
Ali Fayed je jedním z trojice cizinců, které česká policie zadržela v dubnu 2014 v jednom z pražských hotelů. Spojené státy je podezírají, že chtěli prodat zbraně a drogy kolumbijským teroristům. Ali Fayed podle svého právníka sám pracuje pro libanonskou tajnou službu.
If we get this guy to the States, then he's going to be maybe our main witness to take out Hezbollah's drug cartel. There's only one thing that could get in the way of his extradition, is if Czech military intelligence gets involved. Military intelligence is very much under the influence still of Russia and Putin. And that could cause a major problem in the extradition of Fayed.
The arrest of Ali Fayed was the biggest success of the American anti-drug agency. The arms dealer knew all the secrets of the war in Syria. He was at the heart of the military alliance concluded between Hezbollah, Iran, and Russia to save Bashar al-Assad. But the DEA was stepping into a minefield. The criminal networks of the Party of God were protected by Moscow. The longer the war lasted, the more indispensable Hezbollah fighters became, and the more their need for weapons increased. The price to pay for this headlong rush was counted in the number of coffins that returned to Lebanon.
When the first Hezbollah fighters were killed, a cemetery opened for the so-called martyrs who were falling in Syria.
لأنه بنية راح عنده مثل ما حكينا حوالي 3000 قتيل، وبس يكون عندك 3000 قتيل بحرب معينة يعني عندك ضعفين جرح إصابات، يعني عندك 6000 إصابة، عمليا عندنا 10000 يعني تقريبا ما بين قتيل وبين مصاب. في 10000 عائلة أو 8000 عائلة تضرروا يعني ضعف كتير، يعني راح منهم عدد كبير جدا.
عم تقشع؟
طبعا.
ماما 24 فتوش ما تقرب.
عم نصلي بعد طب فوتوا البلد.
لازم نصلي قبل هذيك المال.
لا خلص.
قصة كبيرة مبين هون.
هون يلا يا خالتي روحي انت وهنيك على الطاولة الصغيرة.
الله يأجركم على هيدا التعب. عن جد مقهورة. يعني أنا أول شيء جاني 3 بنات. أنا شخصيتي بحب البنات كتير، بس بنفس الوقت بحب بيجيني صبي أو صبيان لحتى يكونوا هك إنه افرح فيهم يكونوا بهيدي الميادين، ميادين الجهاد.
طبعا هلا كرمال نحيا.
مجرد ما بعت الصورة يعني حسيت انه انا ما عادش بدي راح اشوف محمد. حسيت حالي انه انا بدي اشوف صورة محمد بس. بس قلت له يا بي انت قلت لي بدك تستشهد، بس يا بي مش بهالسرعة. يعني كنت حابب اني هيك القي عليه شوي صغيرة بس. يعني عادة الجريح قلت له طلعت اشطر من بيك يا بي. قلت له طلعت اشطر مني.
A part of the mothers who were crying over their sons, I mean, I'm sure they were convinced, but I also believe that others must have doubts. How far indoctrination can go, but from history we also know it can go very far.
القادم من مقام الحوراء زينب هنيئتك الشهادة لبيك يا زينب لبيك يا زينب لبيك يا زينب لبيك يا زينب لبيك يا حسين.
يوم تشييع محمد صادق أنا بالنسبة لي كان يوم عرس. مش أنا ما كنت زعلان. يمكن أنا هلأ بحزق شوي بس قبل ما حزق بالمرة. أبداً أبداً. أبداً أبداً.
Hezbollah should know that Iran will fight to the last Hezbollah member. You know, look what happened in Syria. All the Hezbollah members died. How many Iranians died? Not many. What did they get in return? Not much. They come back to their bankrupt economy, bankrupt banking system. Their ports explodes. I mean, it's like Dante's gates of hell, you know. But we could go further down the cycle. You know, there's more gates that we can approach here in the future.
The war in Syria was profoundly changing the image of Hezbollah among many Lebanese. Yesterday considered as heroes, the fighters lost their aura of resistance fighters and were perceived as an army of mercenaries. Party leaders also changed. In their telephone tapping, the French and American investigators heard only about drugs, weapons, and money, just like in the mafia.
Mohamed Bouhadine projette de venir en France. Et donc on met tout en place. On était parfaitement prêts à le recevoir. Et là, il se fait arrêter à l'aéroport. Et puis, dans le même temps, on interpelle différents membres de son équipe dans des hôtels de luxe à Paris, chez eux en Allemagne, en Italie, etc. Ah ben, il nie tout en bloc. Hein. Il explique que non, il n'a pas organisé de collecte, il n'est pas à la tête d'un réseau de blanchiment, etc. Bon. Et puis, il finit par reconnaître à minima les choses qui sont absolument irréfutable, tout en minimisant constamment son rôle.
We found out that the cocaine proceeds that Nur al-Din was coordinating at that time was the main funding mechanism to provide financial support to Hezbollah's purchase of arms out of Eastern Europe and Russia to send to Syria, basically.
After 8 years of investigations, the Operation Cassandra agents reached their goal. They discovered a secret organization within Hezbollah in charge of coordinating funding for the war in Syria, and more broadly, all the clandestine military operations led by the party.
We were receiving information about this shadowy group within Hezbollah, and we'd hear things like, oh, they're called the financial unit, they're called the banking unit.
Jack Kelly and the team in Project Cassandra identified a component known as the business affairs component. So we started like putting together the pieces of the puzzle using all the experts that we had in the US government.
What's going on here? How do you connect all these dots? You know, it's like trying to solve a mystery. And remember, we have to provide evidence.
Basically, the business affairs components had different things they want to do. They want to move cocaine, they want to launder money, they want to sell or buy weapons.
This business affairs component got hundreds of companies. And we mapped out, we know where those companies are. They're all over the world, even some in the United States. It functioned as this funnel to control all these secret bank accounts all over Lebanon and all over the world, actually. Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Paris.
Business affairs component makes probably over $1 billion a year in criminal proceeds. We have that backed up by records that we got out of Lebanese Canadian Bank.
This is the financing of terror.
We found out that the cocaine proceeds that Nur al-Din was coordinating was under the leadership directly of Adham Tabaja.
Adham Tabaja was one of the main guys involved with the business affairs component.
Tabaja, en fait, c'est l'entrepreneur libanais important qui possède un très gros groupe de construction. Et en fait, dans le dossier, il apparaît parce qu'il est en relation avec Mohamed Noureddin.
Is one of the lead financiers of the rebuilding of Hezbollah neighborhoods and infrastructure in Lebanon after the 2006 war.
And who's the guy who's the money master for them? Well, Abdallah Safi al-Din. We'll call him the financial godfather, certainly, the business godfather.
Abdullah Safi al-Din was Hezbollah's ambassador to Iran. Obviously, Abdullah Safi al-Din had connections in very high levels of the Iranian government.
What Tehran needs Hezbollah to do, Abdallah Safi al-Din runs it. His clan is basically Hezbollah royalty.
Abdallah Safi al-Din has a brother who's the executive director of Hezbollah. And there's rumors that he would be a successor to Nasrallah.
Once you get to their level, you're above being a Hezbollah member. I mean, I know that sounds strange because people are literally saying, well, where's their membership card? I'm like, they don't need a membership card. You know, when someone sees their face, they're like, come right on in, you know, I mean.
So when you find, as U.S. investigators did, Abdullah Safi al-Din involved in illicit financial activities from Iraq to South America to Europe, coming up over and over again, like that gets your attention.
It appeared viable that we could actually make a case against Abdallah Safi al-Din and perhaps arrest him. We could do this if people let us do that.
Operation Cassandra was approaching its moment of truth. If US investigators got the green light to arrest Abdallah Safi al-Din, they would be able to decapitate the hidden leadership of Hezbollah. At the same time, they were hearing a new tune. The United States was starting negotiations on nuclear power with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Yet Iran was Hezbollah's historical sponsor.
Philosophically, Project Cassandra became a problem. Our actions became a problem.
Very good and productive, but still we have lots of work to do. So tomorrow we will continue? Tomorrow we will continue, yes.
Iranians started to complain about it in the talks. I've heard this from people who are there. They complained. They said these DEA people are past, you should control them. They're out of control. That's usually what you do want to shut somebody down.
Today, after 2 years of negotiations, the United States, together with our international partners, has achieved something that decades of animosity has not. A comprehensive long-term deal with Iran that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. This deal demonstrates that American diplomacy can bring about real and meaningful change. Change that makes our country and the world safer and more secure.
Barack Obama chose to sign peace with Tehran, an agreement hailed by the international community. The ink was barely dry when the Iranian president began a triumphant tour of Europe and stopped in Paris. After the dirty war of the 80s, he came to celebrate the return of business.
Aujourd'hui, le président Rouhani est à Paris. Cela faisait 17 ans qu'un président iranien n'était pas venu ici en France.
The same day, Special Agent Jack Kelly landed in Paris to celebrate the dismantling of Mohammed Noureddin's money laundering network. An official ceremony was organized at the French police headquarters. The DEA was about to reveal the existence of the Corporate Affairs Bureau, a secret organization within Hezbollah.
It was going to be what I really thought was a fitting end to Cassandra. The top French law enforcement official was going to give us a champagne toast as a success for this incredible Operation Cedar under Project Cassandra. So I'm there for that, and then I'm kind of looking at the judge and the prosecutors and the cops, and it's like, what's going on? They're mentioning, yeah, we think the press conference definitely was canceled, and the press release was postponed.
La France et l'Iran, côte à côte, oublions les rancœurs, lance le président Rouhani. Airbus, Peugeot, Vinci, Bouygues et les autres, plusieurs dizaines de milliards de dollars de contrats sont signés.
Une trentaine de contrats signés aujourd'hui pour un potentiel de 15 milliards d'euros. Des accords avec la SNCF, Total, Peugeot, 118 Airbus commandés. Autant de bonnes raisons pour les patrons français d'applaudir chaleureusement le président iranien.
I'm watching it on TV at the bar of the Trocadero Hotel, and I'm getting these calls and text messages saying, yeah, everything's canceled. It was a horrible day. I couldn't believe it. Right at the same time, I'm getting information that either Ali Fayed had been released from the Czech Republic to Lebanon.
O Fayada žádali Spojené státy, které ho vinili z vážných zločinů. Místo za oceán, ale odpoledne Ali Fayed zamířil domů do Libanonu.
Ali Fayed, he went back to Lebanon. We never got him in America. The U.S. government system failed. There was no engagement. So how do you explain that? I know what my investigative gut feeling is telling me. He was a member of Hezbollah, and they were in the middle of an Iran deal. That's my opinion. I don't have the smoking gun, but I have an opinion. I've been doing this a long time. I think the entire Project Cassandra scared many people around the world. it has been sacrificed for politics.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Comment allez-vous? Nice to see you again. Nice to see you. Did you sleep well? Yes.
When I met Asher in 08, he told me really from the beginning, Jack, I want to tell you right now, ultimately, I can guarantee you that somewhere along the way, the White House, whoever's White House it is going to shut us down. Because if we get to where I think we're going to get, it's going to be too much for some people. And that's exactly what happened to me. And his prediction was true.
You know, I told Jack, the higher up you go, the more people know, the more they're going to want to stop this. Right when we were in the jaws of victory, victory was snatched from us.
And I also knew right at the same time that I just been transferred via memo out of Special Operations Division off of Project Cassandra to a desk job at headquarters. So I decided to go to my favorite cafe and drink red wine.
Hezbollah had won. Operation Cassandra, led by the American anti-drug agency, was buried, sacrificed on the altar of realpolitik. The United States had favored the hope of peace with Iran, rather than the dismantling of the hidden face of Hezbollah.
Cassandra was part of Greek mythology, is that she was warning leaders of impending catastrophes and disasters, and her warnings would always get ignored, and then the disasters and catastrophes would eventually happen. So Cassandra was always right, but nobody paid attention to her, and they would dismiss her, and they were skeptical.
What if Operation Cassandra sounded like the final warning? The missed opportunity to end the impunity of the Party of God. Until August the 4th, 2020, the day of the explosion of the port of Beirut, the ground zero of the Lebanese. In the aftermath of the catastrophe, the people turned against their leaders, especially against the all-powerful historic leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. The Lebanese demanded truth and justice, for once.
Que s'est-il passé précisément? Comment se fait-il que ce stock de nitrate d'ammonium, un stock colossal, 2750 tonnes, qui était entreposé dans un bâtiment du port?
Une substance particulièrement instable. Il s'agit du même produit que celui qui avait causé l'accident dans l'usine AZF de Toulouse en 2001.
بس مين المجرم اللي جاب النترات الأمونيوم؟ مين جابها؟ مين حطها بالمرفأ؟ مين حماها؟
This hangar was controlled by the Hezbollah. This everybody knows, as well as the airport is controlled by Hezbollah.
في بوابة من بوابات المرفأ خاصة لحزب الله، ما حد بده يفتشها، سموها شعبيا بوابة فاطمة. مشان هيك أنا بتصور كل اللبنانيين وكل الأمنيين بيعرفوا تماما حزب الله حكما أقوى من كل الدولة اللبنانية، ما يسترجوه.
Au départ de cette négligence, il y a un crime principal que personne ne veut dévoiler.
$215 dead, 6,500 injured. The day after the explosion, Beirut was scarred and devastated. But Beirut was also angry. Who was responsible for this catastrophe?
The official story is short and simple. There is a ship that came from Georgia to Lebanon. It was supposed to carry on to Mozambique, but it couldn't make it. So they removed the ammonium nitrate and they kept it in the warehouse. This is the story, the official story. Ammonium nitrate is usually used either as a fertilizer or as an explosive. You know, the shipment that came to Lebanon, it was clear even on the backs that it was high density. It was written on the backs. So it was meant to be used as an explosive. So this shipment stayed in the port for 7 years. Unfortunately, everybody knew about it, but nobody took any action. What I discovered during my investigations is, first of all, that Savaro was the company that in the beginning appeared to be the owner of the ammonium nitrate. This company is kind of a shell company, which means it's a company where you don't know the real owner. Later on, I discovered that there are many links between Savaro and Syrian businessmen, Mudalla al-Khouri and Imad Khouri, his brother, and George Haswani.
نحن لا نعرف سرقة سافارو ولم نسمع بها على الإطلاق إلا من خلال الزوبعة الإعلامية الأخيرة، ولا نعلم أنها مسجلة بنفس عنوان شركتنا. يعلم تمام المعرفة، لا علاقة له لا من قريب ولا من بعيد في هذا الموضوع. ما سبب القلق؟ ليش سبب القلق؟
George Haswani met several times the Syrian president, and Mudallal and Imad Khouri had several companies and factories in Syria and in Russia. In those two countries, it's not easy to reach the level where those guys reached in their business and in their wealth without being close to those in power, whether in Syria or in Russia. Most probably, this shipment was meant to reach in one way or another Syria in the time when the war was at its peak.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Studies done by the FBI actually said that according to the calculations they had done, what exploded in the port of Beirut was somewhere between 500 to 700 tons of ammonium nitrate.
Évidemment, si les 2700 tonnes avaient explosé, c'est toute la capitale qui aurait disparu. Mais là, entre-temps, qui a utilisé ces milliers de tonnes? Qui a pu les sortir de Beyrouth, les sortir du Liban?
Je vous pose la question. Qui?
La Syrie et le Hezbollah.
I don't want to get involved in anything political. I hinted for possible links, okay? I was not killed, at least until now.
ومن بيروت ينضم إلينا الباحث السياسي لقمان سليم. أهلا بك.
لقمان سليم also hinted.
لقمان، في لبنان من المتهم الأول بتسهيل ووجود هذه الكمية من نترات الأمونيوم في مرفأ بيروت؟
يا سيدتي الأمر تحصيل حاصل. المتهم الأول هو صاحب الدالة الكبرى، أعني ميليشيا حزب الله، فيكفي أن يراجع الواحد منا والواحدة.
Luqman made Hezbollah responsible for transporting the ammonium nitrate to Syria. Yeah, he was putting the puzzle together. Today everybody is saying it. In January, Luqman was the first to say it.
بالتالي نحن أمام مشهد أو بازل إن شئت تكتمل تفاصيله. اليوم بدنا نعرف جيدا من استورد، ولكن أهم من الاستيراد.
La journée d'hier au Liban devait être marquée par les 6 mois après l'explosion du port de Beyrouth, mais c'est un autre drame qui a choqué les Libanais, avec la découverte hier matin du corps d'un célèbre intellectuel, Luqman Slim, plusieurs balles dans la tête, dans sa voiture dans le sud du Liban. Alors pourquoi a-t-on assassiné Luqman Slim? Quel est le message? Les regards se tournent évidemment vers le Hezbollah, qui contrôle étroitement la zone du Liban Sud où l'écrivain a été tué.
Do you know how Luqman was killed?
Yes, but I cannot. Yes, he was killed by 6 shots. It seems they have been very professional.
Hello. Moi, je suis vaccinée. Moi aussi. Happy to see you.
Merci, Omar.
Liebte. I came several times, but you were close. Et je suis, quand l'impression elle est en voyage, elle doit revenir.
I want justice, and I need to know who did it, who planned it, and who gave the order. With the port explosion and the execution of Luqman, there is something which is broken. No, you cannot go back to normal life. You cannot go back and let the political game win. No, we need, for both, we need accountability.
Will we ever know the truth behind the Beirut port explosion? 2 Lebanese magistrates tried to investigate. They were threatened and their inquiries suspended. As for Hezbollah, in spite of popular protest, it opposes any international inquiry.
Whether the Lebanese people will be able to know the complete truth, I doubt.
Don't even try. It'll never happen. You'll be long in the grave centuries from now, and there will not be an answer to it.
Le Hezbollah ne peut, en même temps, être une armée en guerre contre Israël, une milice déchaînée contre les civils en Syrie et un parti respectable au Liban. Il ne doit pas se croire plus fort qu'il ne l'est. Vous avez un système de terreur qui s'est mis en place et que le Hezbollah a imposé.
Macron put it well. So long as Hezbollah continues to engage in international terrorism, acts of assassination in Lebanon, illicit financial activity, undermining the stability of the Lebanese financial system, so long as Hezbollah engages in all those activities, it is an outlaw actor and needs to be treated as such.
Is history doomed to repeat itself? Is the divine impunity of Hezbollah's leaders really eternal? 40 years ago, it dreamed of imposing Sharia, Islamic law, in Lebanon. Instead, it created a state within the state, Hezbollah land, more powerful than the official state, and swathed the country in a black veil that tastes of ashes.
We are living here in Lebanon in a culture of impunity. You can kill, you can commit massacres, you can commit crimes, you can do whatever you want. In the end, nothing is happening.
What happened to Chekri Harb?
He's out of jail. I know he was in South America, and I think he might have went back to Lebanon, but I'm not sure.
Ayman Juma?
He's never been caught. So he's in Lebanon. I'm sure he travels to other places. We just don't hear about it.
Ali Karoubi?
Ali Karoubi, I don't think, never arrested, not jailed.
Ali Fayed?
Ali Fayed, he's certainly not in jail.
Adam Tabaja?
Adam Tabaja, not in jail.
Safieddine?
Never indicted, never captured, never arrested. Still the Hezbollah ambassador to Tehran, as far as I know.